All
right, so we'll give it a few more minutes, see who else comes in. Anyone have any questions from the previous training? Anything at all? No, that's okay. Okay, well, let's just get started. Because the first thing we're going to do is just kind of go over navigating WyoCloud. So that I think is something that can be kind of figured out as well, like on your own, just clicking around. So if people come in while we're halfway through that, that'll be okay. So I'll go ahead and, Winter, can you allow me to share my screen, please?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. All right. So in case anyone isn't familiar, which everyone should be, but to first get into WyoCloud, from the WyoWeb homepage, just going to be on the right side under WyoCloud, and then financial management and HCM. That's going to be our main landing spot. This is where you're going to go for basically everything in WyoCloud is going to be from here. So you should see the good morning or good afternoon or whatever it is with every time of day and then your name. Then there is two different ways to navigate different areas within WyoCloud. You can come down and view it here. We have options, and then across the top you can click on different areas. Or in the top left we have the little navigator button. You can click on that and it pulls up the same exact menus, but just in a different format. I prefer this, the navigator, because it is the same no matter where you are. So if you click into, I don't know, one of these sections, you can get right back into it by clicking it, and that's going to be the same. So that's what I prefer. However, whatever you're more comfortable with. So we'll go ahead and go through a few of these things. Again, we'll do it pretty quickly because most of these things people should be at least semi-familiar with, at least getting into. So this My Profile section, this is going to be where you enter in time and absences. So we'll click on it real quick. You can access your time cards, add in, if you're going to be missing time. I think this is how you can, where you can review, how much time you have. So being that I'm just an intern, I just work with the My Time cards. I'm not familiar with the other sections, so be worthwhile to go in and check that out yourselves. If you're not familiar yourself and you're gonna be using them. Then I think the next one that I think is most applicable is the directory. This is going to be how you can kind of see your org chart. I know there's different reasons you might find this, that you need this. So you can go right to your org chart quickly. I don't know I don't know how much you'll need to view that. You should kind of be aware of who you are, who you're with. However, you can from that last section search up someone. Like there, I've looked up David Jewell. You know, if you're searching up someone, you want to see like who do they report to for whatever reason, or something like that. You can search up their name and see, oh, so they report. Like I wanted to find out who does Aaron Courtney report to. Okay, search up his name. Oh, he reports to David Jewell. Things like that. You can see who reports to them. So you can click on these little buttons, and it'll pop up their org chart and who reports to them. So yeah, so that's pretty handy. Then we have that personal information. I think if you're new to WyoCloud and need to fill in your information, this is where you do it, and you'd update that. I won't click into mine. I don't think there's anything in there that I wouldn't want anyone to see, but I'm not sure. I haven't clicked in there, so I'll just leave it as that. So yeah, you come in contact information, emergency contacts, etc. Okay. Then our expenses module, we'll wait to get into that. We're gonna spend quite a bit of time in there today. Career and performance, roles and delegations, and job advancement and opportunities. These are sections I'm not super familiar with, and again, I think they're more applicable for full-time faculty and staff, so it might be worthwhile again to click in that and kind of see how your department uses them. Because if I'm understanding correctly, I know it's not necessarily mandatory that some of these things are filled out, but different departments use them more than others. So yeah, another thing. So yeah, I think that's the most part. That's my profile section. Any questions over that? I know. So okay, cool. So then my team, this is going to be, I only have the recruiting tab. I know there's other ones as well. Recruiting would just be if you are, designated to process hiring requisitions. This is where you go to set up those. So, but we won't go through that today. Just to let you know, in case you are ever going to be doing that, that's where you'll start. And then there's also, you have to take trainings to become a delegate to do recruiting. So okay, help and training. This is another place to get to quick reference guides and the Learn Center. We kind of went over a couple ways to access those yesterday, but here's a couple more. I guess we can log in, see the menu that pops up. This is, you'll have to come do different one of these to like I said, if you're being asked to do hiring, you'll have to come here to add learning plans to do that, as well as other things that you need delegations for. There's also other trainings that you can take just to, broaden your horizon or education on different WyoCloud processes, and then quick reference guides. So, okay, contract management and grants management and projects. These are all things as well that I don't have personal access to, but as you are like at an accountant level, you'll definitely have to deal with contracts, awards, and projects that you are, I guess, either in charge of or at least in charge of processing these. This is like how you reach those menus. So I can click into one, but yeah, it'll just take you here, and obviously you can filter down to access contracts, grants, and projects as needed. So let's click on that. Oh, and that's another thing to know. Some of these in WyoCloud, some of these aren't as like, I guess, very clear on where you need to like access to search things. Like this menu, like if there's like no obvious area to search up if you're looking up a specific grant. A lot of times this little the actions button over here is where you're gonna like in there, then you can manage awards from there. And that's just something I guess as well as some other menus and pages in WyoCloud. You get familiar with working with them as you kind of remember, oh, there's no search bar in the middle of the page, have to go click this little button over here. So, and again, it'll just take you to a section to where you can search in those awards. Okay. All right, and then our payables. This I don't ever go to the payables dashboard. I have used the invoice section. We're gonna get into here later today when we're going over different like a non-PO invoice. We'll come back to here, so we'll skip over that for now. I haven't had to use the budgetary control, but again, that's probably something that at the accountant level you will use, but you'll probably have someone guide you through that when it comes time to do that understands it better than I do. Same with general accounting. We can click into them, but I don't usually access the general accounting, either journals or the dashboard. But so yeah, so I'm not very familiar with how to use it effectively. Okay. Then we have procurement, and this is another section that we're going to get into later on, processing requisitions, and then receiving them in this system, and then also suppliers. We're not going to go over that, but this is a section where, as we'll go over this later, but this is kind of how you can see if you have like a faculty member trying to purchase from a certain company. You can check to see if they're in the system as a supplier. If they are already, great. If not, then there's a process to add them into our system. Okay. Sales, I haven't ever used this analytics button, so I'm not sure what it's for or how to use it. So we'll just go over that as well as these three menus. Then the tools button is another one that, sorry, the little faces, you guys' faces were in the way. The tools section, this is has important sections for reports and scheduled processes. Those are the two that I use in here. The scheduled processes, this is for how to like access if you're going to reconcile like your accounts. So if you're comparing like your shadows to the monthly, like once they close a month, they send out an email saying, November has been closed. So then you'd schedule a new process and pull up like what charges have been charged to WyoCloud, and then you compare that to your system. Hopefully they all match. You'll have things that you've put in that haven't hit the books yet. So you just like keep an eye out for that. So then if they don't hit the next month, there might be an issue there, but so you'll get familiar with that. And then reports and analytics. This is how you access the table of contents, which we're not going over in this training. However, there are some like the table contents, which I have starred here, which I think they're helpful as they have different reports that can tell us what P cards your faculty members have, and like what has been charged but hasn't been put into an expense report, as well as it can track how much money are in certain projects. I think if you're in here and you search up table of contents within here, I believe it comes up to start, because I think it's definitely worthwhile to have it saved. So yeah, I think that is a kind of quick overview of how to navigate WyoCloud. A lot of it, what is used, I think, on most day-to-day is going to be in the My Profile under expenses, time and absences, your payables for non-PO invoices, and procurement for requisition things. That's what we're gonna go dive deep into today, and I think is what's gonna be more oftenly used. So I guess before we get into P cards and expense reports, is there any questions about the WyoCloud and navigating it from anyone?
We'll have a training running some of the reports through the table of contents. I think that's later this week.
Perfect. Yep, that'd be great.
The hiring process as well. So those will be coming up in our schedule.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well then, let's jump into P cards and expense reports. So I'm gonna access this through Dev, the Dev environment. If you're not familiar with it, it is like basically a practice environment. It looks exactly like this, but it's a practice environment. So I'll close it. I have it here. As you see here, it's the development environment, Dev 2. If you, it looks exactly the same, except it has that yellow bar across the top. If you're in Dev and you're not sure, you scroll to the top and you see the yellow bar, then you're safe to do whatever. It won't actually do anything. If there's no yellow bar, that means you're doing it for real. And if you put something in, then it'll really charge the money or whatever. So I can put the link to Dev in the chat in case people don't have that and want to be able to access that. Okay, it's a very long link, so yeah, I just have it saved for trainings, as well as if I want to do whatever in the practice environment. I know I will note that the dev environment sometimes doesn't look exactly like the actual WyoCloud system, because the WyoCloud team will put sometimes, like if they're experimenting with a new like format or something, they'll sometimes put it into dev first to see how it works, if there's any issues with it. So sometimes it might look a little different. So just to know that. But okay, so in the WyoCloud system, I'll just go home. So same menu, just has that yellow bar at the top. So the first section that we're going to go over are P cards. So P cards are basically the credit cards that can be given to employees at the university, that can be used to spend university dollars. There's a process to get a P card. They don't just give them out to anyone. some departments have like department cards. So that's kind of that. You'll know who in your department has P cards. So yeah. So we'll go to my profile, and it's going to be under this expenses tab. Okay. So I selected Derek Smith. He's in the kinesiology department. And these are some of his like old, see at the top of on the dev bar, last refreshed on the 2nd of October. So these are charges he had in his account on his card as of that date. And I processed them, and I had the receipt for one of them. So we're gonna do that as an example. Okay, so for P cards, when someone uses the card and they swipe it, it takes a few days to be entered into the WyoCloud system, but once it does, they automatically upload in what you see right here. So depending on your department, some departments I know, they like the faculty and staff to email and say, hey, like I've got a few charges that should be in WyoCloud now. Some of them wait to upload receipts themselves and then tell the accountant. Some of them don't communicate that at all, and it's on the accountant and stay on top of seeing when P cards are used. So anyways, we're gonna work off of this bottom charge here. So if you click on the date, it'll open up the expense item. And sometimes Deb is really slow, so just a heads up. Okay. So the first things, a couple things to note. When it is a P card, there's going to be a few fields that auto-populate. For example, the date, we can't change it at all. That's when the item was purchased, and then the dollar amount. As we'll see in our next example, when you're putting in reimbursement items, those fields are left blank and you have to fill in yourself. So the first section that you have here is this expense type. If it's a P card, it'll auto-populate as P card. However, we want to change that. The only reason it would stay as a P card is if we're using two funding sources, but we'll touch on that in a little bit. I guess I could pull up the receipt on this one. Can you see the PDF? Okay. 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 So here we have the receipt. Like I said, different departments will do things. Sometimes a department, they'll have the employee be like, hey, these were office supply, or not office supplies, lab supplies or other supplies that we needed for, I don't know, a project or to help teach this class or whatever. So you need to check and make sure, like, okay, there's cables, it's a cut item, so I'm guessing that's like a cable or some sort of other supply, a pulley, clip, all of these things are acceptable things to purchase, and make sure that that dollar amount, 177.27, matches what we have here. Great. So that's perfect. Okay. So in that expense type, those weren't used for like in a lab setting. There was kind of multiple supplies. So unless they distinguish like these were lab supplies that we're using in a lab, these were other supplies. We kind of looked at this on the training Monday, that menu here, the expense types, to kind of help you distinguish what it would be. So if you weren't sure, you could type in, I know it's some sort of supply. So we have our lab supplies, research and labs. So this is going to help you kind of distinguish what expense type to use. So, okay, so we've determined there are other supplies. Okay, so then expense location, where was it purchased? I know sometimes the P card puts it in there, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why or why not. It isn't required in the field. I think it's best practice to fill it out. So, Laramie, Albany County, Wyoming, United States. Great. Again, the dollar amount should already be filled in. So then here is where we're going to add the receipt. So you click that little notch there and add a file. Okay, sweet. Should be in here. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, make sure it's the right receipt. I don't know if that's the right one. I just am putting one in there. But when you're actually doing it, make sure it's the correct receipt, or else it'll be rejected. So then the merchant name on a P card will automatically fill in, so no need to worry about that. Here is the description. So on an expense item, the description is going to be for that specific item. Different departments do different things. I know some departments like to put like what account in first, unrestricted, and then description of what it is. But what's required is like describing the business purpose of that item. So why did these other supplies need to be purchased? So it could be like other supplies for Derek Smith's, classroom, I don't know, presentation. So something like that, just like a good, I guess, thing to go off is like fill out as much of who, what, when, where, why as you can. If there is like, I guess if it's something that's repetitive, so they do a training like once a month, that would be a good time to put in like a when, because if they're buying this supply once a month, it's going to look identical every month. So if you put in that description, other supplies for Derek Smith's classroom presentation on 11-11-20, that'd be good. A lot of times you don't need the when because you have the date as well. But just a good rule of thumb, as much of a who, what, when, or why as you can, because this description is really just going to be often for like your help when you're reconciling. So a better description now is going to help you in the future when you're trying to determine, if there's an issue, someone's trying to remember what was this charge for, that helps. Okay, so we have everything filled out through the date, expense type, location, dollar amount, attachment, description, merchant name. So now all that's left is the account information. So Monday we talked about the chart of accounts. This is where you enter in each of those fields. So your entity, see it has like the drop-down menu for all the options. Remember we talked about how it's almost always going to be 10. This natural account, as you see here, as other supplies, that's because in expense items, they auto-populate by what you put in this menu over here. So we put in other supplies. So you shouldn't have to touch this at all. The natural account and expense items should populate by what you put in here. Fund class, we talked about unrestricted, designated, has all the options there. Same thing with fund source, organization. And organization, it's going to auto-populate to what that employee, so I'm doing this for Derek Smith. He works for kinesiology. That org is going to always auto-populate to kinesiology. If it's charged in kinesiology and health account, then it's going to say that. Like I said, sometimes they have funding from other departments, so you'll have to change that org number to whatever the correct one is. The expense class, we went over how, is this helping him do like instruct to students? Is it helping do research? Is this a charge that's for the AES? It wouldn't be for kinesiology, public service, extension, academic support, student services, institutional support, operations and maintenance. We'll just say is helping him with the instruction. Then our program and activity codes, like we talked about, some people use them, some people don't. That depends on the department and how they want to use them. So we'll say okay. So then this last section is the project number. So this is your project grants, same thing. This is where you'd put that number into like this length. If you are charging on a project, you obviously would select the project and fill it in. Wait for it. Like we talked about, the task, everything else should auto-populate once you put in the project number. Sometimes the task number doesn't. However, as we talked about, it's always going to be 1. There's no other option. So it doesn't, just put in 1 and be all good to go. The rest of it will auto-populate. So if you're using a project, you just have to put in the project number, and then it kind of like overrules this account string. If you aren't using a project, you can just leave it blank and it won't do anything. You can just leave it blank. In the chart string, I know it does show the org, as well as they made it so with COVID, the program code can show as well. So like if this project, so say Derek Smith has a project that's housed in extension for whatever reason, you would put in that project number, and then still you'd have to come change the org number, as well as if it was COVID related, you could put in the COVID code and it would still be able to track that. So yeah, so project number, put it in and it'll overfill everything unless you need to change the org number and or the program code. If you don't have a project, just leave it blank and it'll be okay. And there won't be any issue, I guess is what I should say. Okay, so we can come back, double check, make sure, like we said, the date, dollar amount, merchant name, all autofill. It's other supplies from Laramie. We added the receipt, put a description. That's correct. Chart string, great, we're ready to go. I will note this receipt missing section right here, or this little button. This is, I don't know why it's here, because if you click on it, it'll let you submit it. However, it's going to be rejected because if you don't have a receipt, you're supposed to fill out a receipt missing form.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, hey, Zach. I actually used that this week for the first time.
Yeah.
I had a faculty member who had a disputed charge on her card, so I didn't have a receipt for the card because we couldn't find evidence of the charge or why it was there. So I called Trinidad and asked him how to handle those charges, and he said to click on the receipt missing and then give it, because actually on the charge, if you click on that receipt missing, another box will pop up and ask for a description. Or maybe it was just that description. Anyway, it'll, and he just said to give a very detailed description as to what was going on and why there was no receipt.
Okay. Well, great. Yeah.
Little information. I figured out.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I guess if there is, let me have a chat. So Changing the expense class to 315 for extension. My understanding, and I guess maybe Sophia or Winter understands better why why extension has its own expense class. But my understanding is that since they're like the very big orgs that have money that go to multiple departments, that's a way to track all of the expenses that, even though, maybe animal science is charging it, it's from money that extension has given out to the departments. That's my understanding. I don't know if Winter or Sophia has anything to add to that.
Yeah, that's correct, Zach. Anytime you're not using a grant, if you are using an account string, it's really important to change the expense class to what it is. If it's for extension, always use 315. If it's for instruction, always use 100. If it's for research, 200. And those are the most common ones in the college. But if it is for like staff or institutional support, 550. Or if it's for AES, something specific for AES, 225, which also is kind of like research for AES. And then we do track on this at a higher level, and then the university reports this as a university level. So it's really important to keep track of that. But yes, the net, keep doing that for extension.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, like you said, they report it at a higher level, and if it's for extension, like for whatever, if it's being purchased for an extension purpose, then that would be the correct expense class to use. So, okay, and then as Tanya mentioned, like if there is an issue with the receipt and there is really no way to get a receipt, click that receipt missing, and there's a menu that pops up and you're supposed to describe why. However, if it is something that like they purchased something and I don't know, from Ace, say Derek purchased this from Ace and like misplaced the receipt, there is a form that is a substitute receipt form. This is for a non-P card. Trying to think of what it is. I think maybe it is. I thought. Sorry about this. Okay, yeah. So you basically just fill out everything that was on the receipt. It's not obviously best practice to fill out substitute receipt forms, but if the faculty member loses the receipt, you need to fill it out. It is what it is, but try obviously to help them remember that they need to attach the actual receipt. So yeah. Any questions on that at this point? Anything?
Hi Zach, this is Tanya again. Sorry, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I have faculty that use the WAMI, and those have a project number, but I have not been changing the org on that because I didn't realize I was supposed to in the account string. Will those still charge correctly, or should I go back and make corrections on those?
I believe that they'll still charge to that project. I don't know, Winter, I saw you unmute, so maybe you have a better answer.
They will go to the project. The project GL string is on the back side. And so whatever you put in there, it's gonna change when it posts to the GL. It's due to how they set up the project.
Okay, I just on those WAMI project numbers, those are the only ones that the org is different than that SI org. So.
Okay, yeah, on the back side, it is connected to the GL.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Sweet, thank you, man. So yeah, okay. So at this point, this is like a completed like expense item. So then at this point, you would add it to a report. So you have your expense items, which can be a P card or personal reimbursement, which we haven't done a reimbursement yet. So that's an expense item, and then multiple expense items create an expense report. So as you see, I just added it to a report here. So this whole screen is an expense report, and this one line is an expense item. So if we would click that date, that would take us right back to where we were with all that information. Here, I'll just to make it clear. So click on the date, right back to where we were. Okay, so we'll just save and close. Now we're back to the expense report. So now what we have here is this purpose is for if you had multiple expense items. So say there's like 3 things. This would be the purpose for all of those items. So some departments try and put items that were for the same purpose in one expense report. It's not like mandatory that you do that. So I think that's department by department of how that's practiced. Other ones are just, if they bought 3 things within this week, they're just all going to go on the same expense report. Go ahead, Tanya.
Sorry, Zach.
No, it's okay.
So I've been told that when you're putting expenses on the expense report, that they have to all be within the same month. Is that correct? Like if I have 3 charges from the end of October and I want to put like a charge from November 2nd on there, I've had to do a whole new expense report. Is that correct?
I guess I think it's fine. I don't know. Winter unmuted. Go ahead, Winter.
I haven't ever seen a problem with that. I do different expense reports by account just because they're directed for approvals differently. But the date should be fine. You should be able to mix any kind of dates together.
Okay.
Unless that's the policy you guys have over there. There's like no reason in the system that you couldn't do that.
Okay. And I have like several questions, not right now, but as we go through things, just from information that I've been told. So you guys will kind of see that some of my stuff is the way I've been doing it's not the same as like is coming from the past team or directing from Maria or anything. So Sophia kind of understands what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like Winter said, and I haven't seen any issues if they're coming from a different month. As long as obviously like we P cards, you want to have them done within a month. But that's just on that P card chart. If you buy something on the 30th of October and something on the 2nd of November, I haven't seen why that is an issue. So yeah. So this expense report, like I said, you could have multiple expense items. The purpose, like I said, different departments practice different things. Like Winter said, she does charges to the same like chart string or account. They go on the same one. But like I said, that's department by department of how that's practiced. So purpose, you would just put it's recommended from the WyoCloud team, I believe, that you put in, if it's a P card, you put like either Derek Smith or Smith P card. It's said that it's better to put it at the front. And I think the reason that it's best to put P card or not, because like again, there's P cards and personal reimbursements, is if there's ever like an issue, personal reimbursements get like, if there's an issue, I don't know, whatever the issue might be, that they can't process things with like a specific dollar amount, they're going to handle personal reimbursements first and get people their money back. They are being reimbursed before they handle P card charges. if there's like an issue. More times than not, there isn't an issue, and there's like money is an issue or whatever, and it's all fine and dandy. But if there's ever an issue, and you don't put that in there, and it is a personal reimbursement, it might just take longer to get your reimbursement back. Or if there is an issue with the amount of dollars, I guess that could become an issue. But I don't know, that's what I have been told from people, is that's the reason why. But I don't know. Anyways, so if you can put Smith P card and then a description of all the items. So, you know, if there's multiple lines, but they were all supplies, I'll just say supplies. Yeah. So like this one, it's just one line, so it's gonna look pretty much the same. But if there's multiple, we do something that encompasses all of the charges. So then attachments here. You wouldn't put any attachments here unless you have a document that is supporting, like if you have multiple lines, this is where you would add it. If you so that, like, for example, in this next one we're going to do, it's going to be like a travel personal reimbursement. This would be a good place to put the agenda for, you know, someone traveled to go to a conference. This would be the agenda for the whole conference, and then you have the hotel per diem or whatever. That's where you'd put that attachment. So then you know, purpose is good, attachment's good. No, everything down here should be fine. So then we come over here, our payment method. This is always going to be electronic. I don't know. I know wire is if it's like international. However, I don't know why an expense item would use that. I think it's always electronic, unless Winter or Sophia know of why it wouldn't be. But anyways, yeah, go ahead, Winter, if you.
Sometimes if somebody hasn't set up like or direct deposit, I wasn't listening fully. Did you already say that?
No, I didn't, because I don't know.
Yeah, if they haven't set up direct deposit, it may be checked.
Okay.
That's the only other time that I've seen it though.
Okay, sweet. Cool. Okay, so yeah, I'll touch on that again once we do the personal reimbursement, and just note again that that would be when we'd change that to check if they didn't have a direct deposit set up. But
and I think it automatically will just go there.
That's okay.
It like once.
Okay. Sweet. So yeah, electronic. So in this section here, we have employer pays you and employer pays card issuer. So this employer pays you, this is the like if you're being reimbursed. So if you bought something and you're being reimbursed that money, that's like that's the next example we're gonna do. They would show up in this dollar amount. If they're on a P card, it'll show card issuer with the card number and the dollar amount. So personal reimbursements and P card charges cannot be on the same expense report. Even though it shows an option and it will let you submit it, I believe it'll let you submit it, it's gonna be rejected. So P card charges and personal reimbursements can't be on the same expense report. So then make sure, okay, it's only one line, so there should be no issue. But if we had multiple lines, make sure they're all there. Oh, and that's another thing. If you have a department member that used their P card, and then like, say you have a department card, so there's two different cards. I've been told that two different cards can be on the same expense report. So two different P cards can be on the same expense report, but P cards and personal reimbursements can't be on the same expense report. Okay, so just make sure that's good. Then you have to click this box saying that you've read and accepted corporate travel and expense policies. I guess we can open it. Did it even open it anywhere? Okay. So yeah, this is however, this is I believe in the process of being updated. Because there's been a lot of disagreements and things along that. But anyways, so you have to click that box before you can submit it. See, if I don't, you can't submit it. There you go. So, and then really, then it would just submit. I'm in dev, so I'll go ahead and submit it. And it won't actually do anything, but that is an expense report for a P card. Is there any questions about any of that?
Yes, Tanya has a question again. Sorry.
No.
So I just kind of want to know what everybody's process is like after it's been submitted. I mean, are we printing all the documents along with the expense report and saving them? Is it sufficient to just know that it's saved in WyoCloud? Our department seems to go through a lot of paper, and I'm wondering if that's actually necessary. I mean, is there a policy on that? Is there?
So, I know it doesn't have to be printed, because there are ways to like track them. So, like for expense reports, for example, I'll go to the table of contents.
Yeah, and I've been there, and I've looked over all the expense reports information in WyoCloud. I guess I just want to make sure that if I'm not printing these and all the documents that go with it and filing it away, that I'm not breaking some policy or something that I'm supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, go ahead, Winter. You can.
I don't print a single thing, Tanya. You know, you'll put the expense report number probably in your shadow, because then you can always go back to that expense report and see all of the receipts that are kept in the system. If you're keeping something extra, then you need to think about why you're not putting it as an attachment to your expense report, because that essentially is the final record. For audit purposes, it's what's in the system. So,
and no, I don't have any extra paper. I just, and again, it's just, I've kind of gotten some of this information from somebody who's kind of set in their old ways. And I just want to make sure that if I'm not doing it that way that she has shown me, that I'm not, doing it incorrectly. Does that make sense? I want to make sure I'm following what the current policies are and what we're supposed to be doing.
Yep, the final record is what is in the system, so you don't need to keep a paper copy.
Okay, all right.
Or
if you actually ever came out here and saw the amount of file cabinets in this office, you'd just be amazed. And they're all full of paper.
Yeah, and it's hard when, you move into somebody else's system, but we are going to try to move away from keeping paper files that other people can't access. So, once the SharePoint, we'll have things that other people can access. So if you're no longer there, that we all kind of have a sense of how you're tracking things and filing. And so we don't have a policy out there. So if you continue to do this, we, would recommend just thinking through why you're doing that as your process.
Well, I've thought through why, and I don't see that there's a reason for it, but I just, again, want to make sure that I'm doing it.
You don't have to. So, because it's the system record.
Okay. All right. I like that answer. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So perfect. Okay, so now here, back to this menu. So as you see here, your expense items, you have the two card charges where we initially had that one. And then your expense reports, we have the one that we just created and submitted, which if you click on that, once you submit it, the faculty member has to approve it if you're submitting it on their behalf. So that's why it's under their requires action, because it's pending that individual's approval. They get an email. They get an email when there's something pending their approval. I still send them an email as well saying, hey, just submitted the expense report, and that's ready for your approval. So yeah. So now we'll go ahead and do a personal reimbursement. So I'll just, I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just go to myself. Again, so these are items that don't auto-populate. This is anything that you paid for yourself, or this faculty member paid for with like their own credit card, or they traveled and they get reimbursed for traveling. This is, you have to fill in yourself. It doesn't auto-populate at all. So back in that expense item section, you come down and you create an item. Okay, so then it's going to be blank. So this date is going to be not today's date. It's just going to be the date that this expense happened. So we'll say for this example that I went to like some conference this past weekend. So we'll say it was last Friday. Okay, expense type, same thing. So this first one we'll say is my hotel. So hotel, lodging, domestic. Okay. So then I think I have a PDF pulled up. Yeah. Okay, so we'll say that this was actually my hotel. The state tax you're not supposed to pay for. However, I have an email from someone that the rule is if you use a P card, then it has to be tax exempt. You can't pay with tax with the P card. So if you do get charged, you have to get it reimbursed. However, if you use your personal card and are getting reimbursed and you pay that tax, I believe not that you want to, but that tax doesn't have to be withheld. So if you use your personal card and are being reimbursed and you pay for that tax, you can pay for that tax with your personal card. I believe, however, though, if you did pay for the tax and you wanted to get it taken off, you could work with them yourself and get it taken off just so it costs less. But if you use a personal card, you can pay the tax. If you're using a P card, you can't pay tax. So this is our hotel. So we'll say that I use my personal card, so I'm going to pay for the tax. So it's going to be $105.60. So. Okay. Expense location. What does it say? I think it just said Miami for whatever. Okay. We'll say I had to go to Cheyenne. I don't know why I would stay the night in Cheyenne, but we'll say that I did. Okay. So we have our location, date, type, dollar amount. So same thing, you just add the item. Okay, well, sure. Okay, so then description, same thing as much as who, what, when, where, why. Check Gunter staying the night in Cheyenne for, and health. I don't know. Guest speaking, as a guest speaking. So there we go. Yeah, who, what, when, or why as much as you can. Staying that I need to do hotel. Sorry, hotel for saying that. Okay. Merchant name. So I've seen, since we're technically, this is like I paid for the hotel, so the university is reimbursing me. I've seen the merchant name be like the employee's name, so Zach Gunter. I've seen it be not applicable, and I've also seen it be the actual hotel, so Hampton Inn. I don't know. Winter or Sophia, do you know, is there a best practice one that should be the correct merchant name when it's a personal reimbursement?
I know that it should be NA just
Okay.
because you're reimbursing the person, not
Mhm.
Hampton Inn technically.
Okay.
And that's how I've been doing it, but I don't know, Winter,
I
if you
agree.
know anything. Okay.
Same. Okay, so NA. Okay, so I guess since this is being recorded NA, merchant name is NA when
Right.
it's a personal reimbursement. So, okay. So yeah, sweet. So all that should be filled out, and like I said, it's been the same as the P card, except those auto-populated fields aren't auto-populated. So then same thing here. We'd go change the chart string. We won't go through that again. We'll say it's perfect what we needed. I guess we can shoot. So I guess I haven't talked about split funding. If it's a P card, so I'll just go ahead and make this a P card just to show you. So if it was a P card, even though this one isn't, interesting, then let me see, one sec. Okay, so I'm guessing won't let me because it's not actually a P card. So if it was a P card, we would leave it as P card, and then if it was an actual P card, this itemization menu would already be up. But since this is a personal reimbursement, you have to do split funding. So if it's a P card, leave it as a P card in the expense type, then come down here and add each line. So this is where we would actually do it. Hotel, lodging, domestic. And the use of this is if you're charging to 2 different accounts for whatever reason. So, it could be $50 for this one. Let's say it's that, and then you have to add to do another line to do the second account, which and then same thing, you just fill it all out. So to make sure that this remaining balance is $0 once you've filled out the multiple lines that you're using, because if there's any remaining balance, then it won't let you submit it. So make sure you're putting all dollar amounts. You have to fill in each line again, so it would just be NA. Description, if you want to, you can describe why you have the 2 different accounts. Maybe say there's 2 people staying in this hotel, me and someone else, and they're being charged on a project. You could say like Zach Gunter's half of the hotel, John Doe's half of the hotel. So same thing, and then merchant name, make sure you change the chart strings or project, remaining balance 0, add in the date, and that would be how you do the split funding. And so again, if it's a personal reimbursement, the expense type is split funding. If it's a P card, leave it as P card, come down here, add the itemization, and do the rest of it from here. So
Zach, this is Carolyn. Just a tidbit, because I've seen some correspondence. One thing to be careful of on these personal reimbursements is the amount of tip. The university only allows the 20%. And if it is over that, then an expense correction or an expenditure correction of some kind needs to be made. So just something to remind your faculty of, I think, periodically, is to be careful with those tips.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you for adding that. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, the tax, that's one thing to be aware of. And then also, tipping when you're paying for a meal, it can't exceed 20%. If it does, yes, expenditure correction has to be done to, have the faculty member, pay for the, tip that exceeded 20%. So, yeah, so then I guess at this point, this is what personal reimbursement would look like. So then same thing, you would add it to report, save and close, whatever you want. We'll save and close just to show what it looks like. Oh, sorry. Oh, I guess I have to fill it then. Do that. Okay, hopefully that's okay. Okay, so now back at this menu, we have our expense items. So now here we see one cash. So if it was one card, that would be a P card. One cash, that's a personal reimbursement. So just to note that. So this is what it would look like. As we see, it has the split funding with the two lines. So like say you needed to make another one, you could create it right there. It would pop up another menu or another line, sorry. And you could click that as well as the next one, add it to a report, and they would both be added to a report at the same time. So that's pretty handy if you're doing a reimbursement for that, per diem, anything else, you can do them all at once. Create the lines and add to report. Okay, I don't know why it's not. Okay, we'll go to the expense reports and then we'll make one and it'll allow us to add existing from in here. And we can just pull in that one from there. So, and there you have it. Then it's a expense report once again. Same, looks the same, but see here it has employee pays you instead of the card. And then you would put in the same information, you know, instead of Smith P card, it would be like Zach Gunter reimbursement. I don't know if I've ever spelled reimbursement correctly. I think I always have to autocorrect me. And then, you know, it could be the hotel for guest speaking Cheyenne. Oh gosh. And then yeah, and then same thing if you say we had that and then like my per diem as another line, we could add the per diem and then here could be the agenda for it. I guess that's maybe we should do a per diem item just because that's another oftenly handled one. So we're adding another reimbursement item, which is going to be the per diem for that day or whatever. So we put in the date that we are getting reimbursed for per diem. Then you come down and it's going to be per diem domestic. Okay. So now what we have is this per diem calculator. So here's one that's already filled out with someone that went to Douglas. So this basically just like shows the date that you were there, the location, the rate, and then the total. So something to note, the first and last day of travel is only reimbursed to 75%. Because kind of like, if you're going somewhere, the chances are you weren't in that location the whole day. Like you probably left in the morning. So that meant that you probably got your breakfast in town just like you normally would. Or if you're coming back that last day, you probably got back in town like to have dinner on your own as you regularly would. So anyways, that's why this calculator just shows that first day and last day are at that different amount, whereas the days in between are the full amount, which comes out to this total. So to show where that comes from, that's in the forms section that we went over yesterday from the financial affairs. Click on forms, it'll take you here. Link down into, in the payment services, it has the per diem calculator. If you click on that, it's just the Excel file, which should have that same setup. Boom, boom. So then you'd fill in the information there. I won't at this time, but you would. And then another thing to note is how do you find out the per diem rate? So the GSA.gov has the per diem rates. So if you go on there and come down to travel, it should pull up a little map that you can choose. In case they weren't in Wyoming. I thought there was a little map. Dang it, maybe they got rid of it or something. I don't know. Anyway, so you just put in like where you were going.
There are actually certain areas in Wyoming that have a higher per diem rate.
Yep. Yeah, so then once you come into Wyoming, no, that's, so as you see here, so there's the standard rate, which is applies for all locations without specified rates. Well, then the specified rates are Cody, Jackson / Pinedale, and Rock Springs. So however they determine it, they determine that it's more expensive to eat in these places, so you get a different amount. So here's 55 is the standard, and then Cody 71, 76, and 61. Another thing to note, so say we'll come back to the per diem calculator. Say I went to this conference and lunch was provided. So okay, well, so the first day, say it was 11-5-2020. Last day was 11-6-2020. Location, both in Cheyenne. And both the rate is standard at 55. So say lunch was provided that second day by the conference. So then in here, we'd come and since lunch was provided, lunch is usually $14 at 55. However, it was provided for us, so we didn't have to pay for it. So we should come in here and do equal that 55 minus the 14, right? It was 14. Yeah, minus the 14, just to show that, because that's a meal that you didn't have to cover for yourself to get reimbursed for. It was already covered. And then I think it's best practice over here in cell E to put, lunch was provided. Or you can say like per, agenda document or whatever. So to show that you didn't have to pay for it, so you shouldn't be reimbursed for it because someone already provided it. So then you know, that covers, okay, so first and last day, so they have a different rate and lunch was provided, so we had to take that dollar amount out as well. Okay, great. So that's, I won't deal with that. So then we have that saved. So we'll come back to here. I think it was like $72. So you put in that dollar amount that you're getting reimbursed for. Same as you have done. You'd add the attachment, the same as you have. Description, you know, per diem for Zach attending conference. Now ABC in Cheyenne. Same thing, merchant name would just be NA since it was reimbursement. And then account information as well. And then you would save and close, add it here. I'll just add an attachment and do it since we're so close. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save and close that one. Okay, so now we have the two items, you know, hotel. So now the description could be hotel and per diem for guest speaking. Same thing, you have that dollar amount and it should tell you employee pays you that amount. You have to check this off and submit it that way. And if we had an agenda, this would again be where we'd add it. So then yeah, we would submit that. Oh, chat. Bit of an odd question, but say lunch was provided, but the faculty member missed it or chose not to partake and bought food instead. Do we reimburse that even though they were offered lunch? I believe no, I believe because it's provided and they decided not to take that lunch, I think they still have that lunch taken out. Winter or Sophia, do you know for sure if that's the correct answer?
I'm not for sure, but if I've had instances where lunch is provided at some conferences, and sometimes it's extra money, so they decide not to buy it. But we just have to make sure when we attach the agenda that we make that note in the description, because that's why we need to attach the agenda in case we missed something. That way the auditors can see, okay, why are you claiming lunch if it was provided? But so they know, make sure to put it in the description. He decided not to buy the extra lunch option, but just be clear in your description. That's what I've done. I don't know if other people have done it differently, but that's how I've done it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I think, yeah, if you just kind of describe, but I don't know, I guess I'll try and ask and get a for sure answer from someone on, you know, whether or not, you know, bottom line, if it was provided for free and the whatever it was, if they decide not to. So I'll get a for sure answer to you, Allie. So okay. So yeah, that is the process for expense items, both and expense reports, both P cards and personal reimbursements. Are there any other questions in regards to expense reports, expense items?
I had a just a comment and a question, Zach, if you could show something else. I just want to note that best practice is to, whenever somebody gets back from a trip, make sure to include all their personal reimbursements in one expense report. It's best practice to do that for the approval person, instead of submitting various expense reports for like car rental or per diem. Just put them all on the same report. Try to reimburse them for everything at once, their car rental, their fuel mileage, or per diem or hotel. As whenever you're submitting your P card part, also submit the personal reimbursement. That's just best practice, which is to keep it organized as well. Also, Zach, could you show them how to look for an expense reports within the module, like if it's already submitted, it's already paid, like in that little sandwich. And also if they submit it and they accidentally forgot something, how they could withdraw that.
Okay. Yes. So that first one, how to define the expense report, are you talking? I'm not totally sure what you're
If you go to
referencing.
the magnifying glass, they can search
Mhm.
any expense report there
Oh, okay. Okay. So
for
yeah.
that particular person they're under.
Okay. Okay. So I'll do someone else since I don't have any, but so we'll go right here. Okay. So yeah, so if you go to this magnifying glass, and expense reports and this advanced, I recommend using advanced anytime you have it come up, I guess, because sometimes it's like you have to fill in exactly word for word what you're searching for, and if you don't know exactly like letter by letter, so yeah, so if you hit that magnifying glass and go to advanced, it pulls up all these expense reports. And I guess Tanya, that because you were asking, like this is how you can access all of them without having them printed out. So as well as that expense report.
Yeah, I've accessed these, and also out of the table of contents, the expense reports there too. Yeah, that was kind of my point, is you can find the expense reports in several different places. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be printing them and keeping the paper copies also.
Yeah.
Also here in this screen, the first column, the report total, I believe that's P card, and then at the very right, you can see what was personal. Is that correct? If it was personal, it'll show up on the very right.
That I believe so. I guess we could click on
If you
it.
click, yeah, if you click on it, maybe it'll.
Yeah. Employee pays you. Yeah. So that's a good note that, yeah. So if it's,
Could you click on the other one, the 155.41?
oh yeah.
Although personal and P card shouldn't be on the same one, it does go through sometimes, but it looks like P card was 145 and then personal was $10. You'll be able to see what was personal and when it was paid out in that far right column.
Yep. Sweet. Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah, sweet. So yeah, it's good to know that that's the personal reimbursement, and they should be the same because you shouldn't mix reimbursement with P cards, but unfortunately sometimes they go through and that's not bad. So don't do it. Yeah. Okay. So is that all you wanted me to kind of just show that you can access them?
Yeah, I just wanted people to know that they could access them. Like if they're doing an expenditure correction and they need to go back and see when the pay date was or the expense report number, this is a good way to go look at each individual's expense reports since they've been submitted.
All right. Okay. And then, gosh, and what was the other thing you wanted me to show?
If you could show if they accidentally submitted it, but they forgot to submit a receipt or an explanation, they could withdraw it.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So yeah. So there's multiple reasons that you would need to like withdraw it for whatever reason. It could be you thought it was this project and then you were whatever, you messed up and you need to take it back before it goes through approvals. So if you highlight it here, don't click on the number, just highlight the expense report and then come to this actions bar. You can withdraw it. So that would take it out of, so yeah, withdrawing the expense report cancels existing approvals. It becomes in progress expense report that you can edit and submit. Do you want to continue? So like, yes. So if it has gone through like a couple approvals already, it would take them all back. And once you submit them, it'd have to go through that again. But I think that looks better than getting it rejected. I mean, if it's rejected, that's not the end of the world, Obviously it got rejected because there's something that was incorrect that can be fixed and needs to be fixed, that's better than it going through with improper, information or something like that. So yeah, withdraw it, you just click it, this actions. So then you can also duplicate them, which that's handy if you're doing, like, I don't know, they buy something. I know I saw someone in one of the departments in the college bag buys lettuce for the grasshoppers that they do research with quite often. And so if they're charging it to the same account all the time, it's really similar almost every time, that might be a good time to, just come here, actions, and duplicate it, and then make the small edits from there. So that's something pretty handy.
Under that actions menu, you can also print it. Like, for example, Tanya, if you wanted to keep it separate in a folder, you can print it and it'll print in Adobe, and you can keep that in a folder in your warehouse if you wanted to. That would still save you paper. And if you wanted quick access, that's an option. Or if you submit it on behalf of somebody else and you need to send a report to another department using their account, that's what I do. I print it. I don't literally print it. I just print it in Adobe and just send them the PDF file.
Okay.
That'll save you a lot of paper too.
Yeah. No, yeah, we're actually going to that with every expense report, hitting that print, printing out the paper, stapling all the receipts and the invoices and the packing slips to that and filing it away.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Seems
If you wanted
ridiculous.
to do that online instead, you could just save it in the warehouse, but that's an option.
Okay. All right. So yeah, any other questions? Anything else you want to touch on? Oh, another question. I stepped away and missed any discussion on this. If it is offered, it cannot be reimbursed if it was a personal choice not to partake. Okay. So, okay. So that's okay. Yes. So that's kind of along with what I said. So if it's offered, so like if lunch is offered and you decide not to take it, you don't get reimbursed because you decided not to take that lunch that was provided. So sweet. Thank you. And those are in those the travel policy and the uni regs that we went over on Monday. So thank you, Winter. All right. Okay, so we have half an hour left. So those are expense reports. We have time probably to go over requisitions in the next half hour. So let me, I guess I do need to stay in dev. Okay, so yeah, so expense items, expense reports, P cards, personal reimbursements, all of that's associated with that. Those are items that have been purchased already, and we just need to like assign account information to them, etc. So P cards, expense items, stuff that has been purchased. Requisitions, as kind of hinted at in the name, is a request to purchase something. So if you come down to procurement, under purchase requisitions, this is how you request to buy things. Okay, so you have this nice menu here. So there's two kinds of requisitions. There is a catalog requisition and a non-catalog requisition. So catalog, as we'll do first, in the shop by category, there's the purchase catalog shop here and purchase catalog. I don't know why there's these two, but you want to do the one that says shop here. I don't know why they have both options, but I know if you click on that other one, it doesn't take you where you want to go. So catalog requisitions are requisitions with people, like companies that the university has like signed contracts with, to have as a certain supplier to, get like better deals, usually is the main idea, as well as like quick and timely deliveries and things along those lines. So again, they have all these menus here. I don't know if they might work now, but before they had some issues. So if you press the procurement catalogs button, it'll take you out of WyoCloud and into this stage. Actually, Dev might have, I don't know, does anyone know, does Dev have issues working with the catalogs? Because now I'm thinking it might. We'll give it a sec. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, it'll take you to here. It'll say, welcome back, your name. So then if you come over here, it has our suppliers, which we have our contracts with. So CDW, that's going to be like computers, desktops, things along those lines. Fisher, that's like lab supplies, Fisher chemicals, and then Office Depot, office supplies. So go ahead and go to Office Depot. I know one thing to note when you're purchasing from Office Depot, there's a $50 like minimum to get the and get like the free shipping or whatever. So when you're ordering from Office Depot, like you have to order $50 worth of goods. So just note that. That's like, if you don't have enough, I mean, you're probably fine purchasing like some more copier paper while you're there, because you're gonna need it eventually. So anyways, yeah, so basically at this point it's just like online shopping. From this menu you can search by products, you can look at items, you can save orders that you've made in the past. Yeah, I don't know if we need to go over how to purchase things online. I think we're all pretty familiar with that. So yeah, you just okay, we need some papers. We're going to 3 of these, add it to our cart. If you need to buy other things, that's how you do it. So we'll say, nope, we're just here for paper. So you'll go ahead and check out. It'll take you to this menu, which it says it's verifying the price and checking for other suppliers. I don't know what that means because I think, why would it? Anyways, I don't know why. But anyways, it does that for you, and then you'll just hit the checkout. Oh, that's another thing to note. You can't do a requisition from 2 suppliers, catalog or non-catalog. So if you're purchasing stuff from Office Depot and Fisher, you can't put them on the same requisition. You have to do 2 different requisitions. So okay, so it'll pull you back into WyoCloud once you've purchased those things. And as you see here, this description, we can't change it because it's with our supplier, so we know that this is an acceptable thing to buy. So we don't have to put a description there, and it autofills your category name along with the quantity and the price. So that's awesome. It will fill in this description as here, but you do need to change that. So same as that expense item description. This is your Well, no, this description is actually your like the same as your expense report description. So this is the description for that line. This is for the whole thing. So if we got copy paper, you know, pens and paper, this would be the description that's like office supplies for health office, or however you want to describe it. And same thing, who, owner, why, if you can. Justification, I don't know. If you're ordering from a catalog, you don't really need any sort of justification. Winter and Sophia, how do you guys use the justification, or do you ever use the justification box?
Sometimes I use it for like procurement if I want them to email the PO to somebody else, in addition to the email that's listed. Or I've seen other accountants use it whenever they want to just include a note to the supplier, a note to the procurement not to do something, like not send it to supplier quite yet. But I rarely use that justification. I don't know, Winter, if you use it at all.
I rarely have to. The only time I have is if I'm using somebody else's account. I can think of, we bought something with some year-end funds from the dean's office and had prior approval. And so I just put that note in there so that when it went to the cost center approver, it's just a note like that it had been approved to use an account that you wouldn't typically use.
Yeah, and then I'll throw in that I usually only do it if it got, like, say it got rejected for some reason and I'm resubmitting it, just so the approvers, like, I swear I saw this like either earlier today or yesterday, like if you put in the justification resubmitting after, you know, attaching correct receipt or something like that, they know that, okay, I did see it, but it just got resubmitted. So okay, so yeah, description, who, owner, why, as best as you can, justification as feel necessary. This should all be filled in. So then here we have our requester. That's always going to be auto-populate with your name and will stay that way. Urgent, there's yes or no. When you put urgent, it doesn't really, it doesn't, for an approver, it just shows the same way as a regular requisition, but it says urgent requisition at the front. So same way, the approver is just going to see the same exact thing with just an added word. So I think if it is like actually urgent, you can put yes and email the people in the approval chain. Say, hey, I just submitted requisition 175, 176, and it needs approved as soon as possible. Could you please take a look at it? You know, I think that does a lot more than the yes button. Then the requested delivery date is always gonna automatically do 1 week from the day that you're submitting it. I think it's the requested delivery date. It doesn't, if they sometimes they'll get it there sooner if they can, sometimes it gets there later. I haven't seen how the date influences when it's actually delivered. I know with our suppliers, especially like Office Depot and things that are like copy paper and stuff, you'll get it by this date. But like if you're ordering a laptop from CDW, sometimes it takes a month to get it. So no. Okay, deliver to location. This is where do you need this copy paper to go? So you know, this is the location of, if you're ordering it for your office, this is the location of your building. It'll auto-populate to wherever your location is. So if you work in Old Main, like it'll auto-populate to Old Main. Change that as needed. This asset owner section, this is only for capital assets. which we haven't really covered, and with the time we have left, I don't think we're going to, but there are dollar amounts and specific things that make a piece of equipment a capital asset, and they're accounted for differently and they get depreciated. And so if it is an asset, you'd have to fill this information out. But like I said, with our 19 minutes, I don't think we'll cover that. So then in this very bottom section, this is what we've gone over before. We have our chart string and then our project information. If you're just doing the chart string, here's something I guess worth noting. Sometimes to edit it, sometimes the little menu's hidden, so you have to expand this whole section. Oh, even more. Oh gosh. Okay, there we go. Till that little blue button comes up. So that's how you change it. Then same thing as before, make changes as needed. Okay, looks great. All this information should be auto-filled. If it's a project, let's see. I think this is one. Okay, so yeah, you put that in. Task number is always 1. This, as you see here, it populates for that delivery date. I don't know why. Change it to the current date that you're purchasing it. All right, for that to load. Expenditure type, we kind of went over this Monday, of how you find this. So again, you'd pull up this this menu, which we talked about how to find that. So you'd use it to find what you're looking for. I think this would be maybe this is just going to be office supplies. Again, I always do the advanced because see, you can do starts with, I always just do contains office supplies. Great. Okay. Organization. This is the organization purchasing it. Whatever that is. I'll just say extension. Okay. And that one has to be typed in correctly. So again, if you're not sure exactly what it starts with, whatever, do the search advanced. And then contract number and funding source will auto-populate. Again, if you need to change the org number and or add like a COVID code, you can do that as well. So then, yeah, then down here, if you have any notes to the supplier, this is where you'd put it for whatever reason you need to leave a note for them. And then for this catalog requisition that we're doing here, you don't need to add any attachment because it's through our catalog, which is through Office Depot and everything. That contract just basically means that we know that if you're purchasing anything from Office Depot, like it's allowable and the university is okay at purchasing it. As long as everyone that goes through the approvals is okay with you purchasing that item, then that means that it's good to go. We don't need to attach a receipt or anything because it's with that supplier. So double check everything, description, office supplies. Even though it's just paper, I would put office supplies / copy paper for the office. Everything autofills with our 3 boxes of paper. I'm the requester. Serving next week. It's going to be delivered to Old Main. We're charging that project. All that information's filled out. Boom, boom, boom. We're good to go. So then we have that little yellow bar and make sure I'm not actually purchasing this. So then you would submit it. Oh, sorry, I should have noted this check funds. Okay. Oh, there's an issue with the project I randomly put in. Okay, so I'll just not actually submit it. But this check funds button, sorry, you should press that before you submit it. To make sure there's money on, you should know if like you are submitting it or something, you should know that there's money in there. Sometimes you'll get an error message if the expenditure categories that were budgeted for that project, if they're out of money in one of those categories, you'll get like a warnings message. You should know what the account situation is, and even if you're getting a warning error, like you submit it if you know. This isn't letting me because whatever, I think this project must be closed, and I just put in a random number, but so I'll just exit out of that for now and back up dev.
Hey,
So
Zach,
then, yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I have a question on that catalog purchasing on the back end, on the receipt end. Do you want me to wait for that?
I guess, yeah, go ahead and, because I'm gonna like go through like the receiving part, and
Okay.
interrupt me whenever unless I go through it all and I didn't cover what you had a question about. So
Okay.
yeah. So back to that menu. So it would be submitted without that error. Sorry, I shouldn't have put in that random project. So yeah, as of right now, it saved it as incomplete because I didn't submit it. So I could go back in and make edits and then submit it. Once it's submitted, it would say pending approval. And then once it went through the whole approval process, it would say approved. So then once it's approved with a catalog requisition, it's approved. So then it's purchased, and then we wait for the copy paper to arrive. So week goes by, you go to the office and papers arrived. So then what we do next is receive the item. So if you hit that navigator again and come down to my receipts, which is right under the purchase requisitions. Hopefully I have something in here. So this menu comes up. So I just do, you're the requester, you're looking for things that you requested. I do anytime. Just because items they do it like a week after I believe you ordered it or it should be delivered. If you just do anytime, there's no need to worry about it. Change to UIO. If you have those 3 filters, it'll show every outstanding receipt you have, which I don't have any right now. Dang it. And I don't have any in real life right now either. So anyways, it would pop up a menu here in which you would basically click on it and hit this receive button. If you say you ordered the 3 boxes of copy paper and only 2 came, you would hit this button and it'll ask you how many to receive. I feel bad I don't have any, sorry. But if you only got 2 out of the 3 you ordered, you would just receive 2 out of the 3. That just lets like the university know that we've only received 2 at this date. And then once you get the 3rd one, you'd go in and receive the 3rd one, which would be the same process. You come highlight it. It'll ask how many to receive. You can either type it in, or if you receive the whole thing, there's a button that says show, what is it? Receipt quantity, which basically means we bought 3, the receipt quantity is 3. So I want to receive all 3 of them. And then you would hit that receive button, and that tells the university that we received the item, so it's okay to pay them. So that's important to note, that if you ordered 3 and only got 2, receive 2, because we're only going to pay for those 2. If there's an issue and we can't get the 3rd one, the university isn't going to pay for that 3rd one. And they're not going to pay for the 3rd one until they receive the 3rd one. And so That when it's a catalog requisition, that is all you have to do for receiving an item. There's one more step you have to do with non-catalogs, which with 9 minutes, I guess maybe we can try really quickly to kind of briefly go over them. But in receiving a non-catalog one, you do that same process as well as emailing accounts payable a picture of the invoice with the PO number on it, and just let them know, hey, here's the invoice for PO, whatever the number is, just to let them know that so they have that invoice. And that's another step to receiving non-catalog requisitions. Tanya, did I cover what you had a question about, or?
Yes, you did. I didn't realize that on a catalog requisition that we did not need to email accounts payable.
Yep.
So yes, you did. Thank you.
Yeah. So catalog ones, you just receive it in the system. So then we'll just quickly go over how to start them. Or Winter,
So Fisher Scientific, you still have to send.
do you?
Yeah, it's the only one. It's weird.
Okay, well that's good to know. So for this recording, if you order from Fisher Scientists, you have to still receive send an email if you're ordering from the Fisher catalogs.
That's the only one.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's good to know, because I haven't ordered from them, so that's probably why I was oblivious to that. So okay, so then just quickly to do non-catalog ones. So catalog, you come to the shop by category. Non-catalog, you come to the more tasks and do enter requisition line. It'll pop up this menu, line type. So the first thing, and this is actually good to know, is you can only change this like here. This is one of the things that you can't edit once you add it to the cart if it's a good or a service. So just know that you can't change it further down the road. But yeah, so you decide good or service. Item description, same thing. Put when or why. This, since these aren't a catalog, I think it's more important to put a nice effective description in here. But for time, we won't go over that. Supplier. So this is what I kind of talked about earlier. We need to make sure that who you're buying from is a supplier in the system. So there's a menu to search for it, or you can simply come in here and start looking. So I don't know, you can contains. I don't know, we'll do Albany. Let's see what comes up. Oh, awesome. So yep, the Albany County stock growers, they're already in there. So great. So we don't need to add them. So yeah, just that's the way. So you need to make sure that you select your right supplier. Supplier site, this matters, especially if they have multiple locations. So you want to make sure you're using the right location. Often that'll be on the invoice. Like if they have, like you don't really know what this location is, you can also do the search, and it should do empty and then search them, and it should show, yeah, it'll have all the addresses. So if you just have the address, this is how you check to see what address it is. So okay, that one's what I wanted. And then supplier contact, it's not required. If it's like the invoice or whatever has a contact and they're on there, you can choose it. You don't have to. Okay, category name. This is here, I'll just search it. This is a something that we should definitely go over in more depth than probably we have time for right now. But This is basically like what the expense type is, or that it's kind of the equivalent to that. So for whatever it is, okay, we'll just say education books for now. But it don't just randomly pick the one you best have. Get familiar with those, which sorry, as far as time goes. So then the quantity, if it's a good, so then if you're paying for, like this example would be books, or buying 5 books or whatever, then this unit of measure name, this okay, are we paying for 5 bags of books? No, we're buying one. We're doing each is what we're doing. But this is important, especially if you're buying something that is measured in something else, because we need to know the price per measurement. So there's each. Sorry, that was difficult for me to find. So yeah, so we're 5 books each, and the price for each was $10 or whatever. So that would bring our total to 50 down here. If you're buying a liquid that's by ounces, or whatever, that's why that matters. So, and then if it's a service, it's just the whole price, as one. So then currency is always going to be US dollars. Negotiated, you almost always click it. The only times it isn't, I've been told, are like if you're, I think it's like a lawyer is one of them, or attorney fees, I think is, but that's, I don't know. I was told very specifically not to click the negotiated box in that specific situation. More times than not, almost every time you're going to click that negotiated box. Then deliver to location, same thing. Asset, as we kind of talked about. Project funding string is all the same. And then here is the attachment. So correct practice is requisitions they're supposed to be a request to buy something. So when you're requesting, you want to add a quote would be the correct process, which is you add the quote, and then it goes through approvals, and then once it's been approved, then we get an invoice once either we've got the goods, we've received the goods, or the service has been provided. Then we have an invoice, which we pay off the invoice, because sometimes the quote's different than the invoice dollar amount, which you'd have to do change order. However, sometimes it, as I think everyone knows, sometimes it doesn't quite go that you sometimes start with an invoice. So we just attach the invoice there. It's good to note that hit the add to cart button. Don't hit done. If you hit done, it disappears into the void. I don't know what happens when you hit done, but don't press done. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I'll be there in just a couple minutes. Carolyn. So yeah, so you just hit the add to cart. Hopefully I filled everything out so it doesn't get mad at me. Okay, so then you'd come over here. Oh, I have that as well. So then you would review it, and it will take you to this, which we're familiar with. Same thing. So like I said, you can edit things from here, except for the goods or service. And so that's why that one, you make sure you have it the right way before you start it. So yeah, and then the rest of it is kind of like the same that we covered. You do all that, check your funds before you do it, and then submit it. Then receiving, same process. Once you actually receive the goods, go and receive it, except then you also have to send the email to accounts payable with the invoice that has the PO number. So, sorry that the non-catalog requisition was kind of rushed, but that's I guess it for those. And then sorry we didn't get to go over non-PO invoices. But yeah, that's it. Questions about any of that?
I just wanted to mention that if you ever forget this process or anything, just reference the QRGs. The QRGs have virtually every single step and tips and notes. And there's QRGs for virtually everything. So you can look up the QRG for non-PO invoices. But yeah, QRGs are a good reference to go to every time you're submitting something.
Yeah, I think that's great. If you have the QRG, I mean it helps a lot. And there's like I don't know. Hopefully no one feels like I should know this and shouldn't have to use the QRG, because I think they're so much help. Tanya, I see you unmuted.
I know we don't have time today, but I know a lot of times the requisitions are based off of quotes that we get, so that we haven't actually seen the invoice yet. And so at some point, can we go over, like, so I have submitted several that I get the quotes, but like the shipping is wrong. So when the invoice comes in, the amounts don't match up. How to fix that before you send it over to accounts payable and receive the item?
Yeah, so yeah, that's done with a change order.
Today. Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Okay.
Anya, essentially, if it doesn't match, since it is based off a quote and your final invoice doesn't match, you would submit a change order. It does go through the approval process again, and it does go back to the supplier. So when you do submit that change order, just make sure to be explicit in your comments and say, please do not duplicate order. I'm just changing the PO to match the final invoice. And there is a QRG on that as well.
Yeah, are you sure? Because I looked and looked, and I'll look again. But
I can send you it because I recently did a couple change orders and I had to reference that QRG. But I can send you that link because I just did it yesterday. But yeah, you would just submit a change order. It does have to go through the approvals again, though.
Okay. And I have done the change orders, but I just want to make sure that I'm doing them correctly. And I didn't realize I was supposed to, let everybody know that it was just a change. So I probably didn't do that correct.
Yeah, in the description, just make sure to include that. But I'll send you the QRG for that.
Put it in the chat too, because I have just been done. I just did two within the last, little while this morning. So it's right there if you want to grab it.
Yeah, it's very common. It's very common that the invoice sometimes doesn't match, especially for shipping charges. They don't include it in the quote sometimes, but or if you need to like change the account string too, that you can do that via a change order. But I know, Zach, you have to go.
No, yeah. Is there anything else? Like, I guess I know I don't want to be like, if you have questions, and Winter and Sophia can answer them, but kind of yes, their knowledge is definitely higher than mine. So yeah, I'll go. I guess if you guys want me to go over like non-PO and change order, possibly, just let me know and we can see. It wouldn't be until next week. But yeah, yeah, so I guess I'll jump off unless there's anything else.
Thanks, Zach. Ali and Tanya, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to us.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Everyone have a good Wednesday. So.
Thank you. You too.